Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome to the next episode in our series on the Prophet ﷺ, and we're going through the obligations that we have towards the Prophet ﷺ. And so last time we covered believing in the Prophet ﷺ and responding to his call. And so today, inshallah, we'll start with the obligation of respecting the Prophet ﷺ. So the first couple of ayahs are from the beginning of Surah Hujurat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله واتقوا الله إن الله سميع عليم. O you who have believed, do not put yourself before Allah and His Messenger, but fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is hearing and knowing. And in the next ayah, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي ولا تجهروا له بالقول كجهر بعضكم لبعض أن تحبط أعمالكم وأنتم لا تشعرون. O you who have believed, do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet, or be loud to him in speech like the loudness of some of you to others, lest your deeds become worthless while you perceive not. And so we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us to respect the Prophet, to not put ourselves before him, to not raise their voices above the voice of the Prophet, not to be loud in speech like we might be to one another. And also showing like the major consequences of this, that this can render your deeds worthless without you even knowing. And so we see the obligation of showing the Prophet the utmost respect. And then the next couple of ayahs are from the end of Surah Nur. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَإِذَا كَانُوا مَعَهُ عَلَى أَمْرٍ جَامِعٍ لَمْ يَذْهَبُوا حَتَّى يَسْتَأْذِنُوا إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَأْذِنُونَكَ أولئك الذين يؤمنون بالله ورسوله فإذا استأذنوك لبعض شأنهم فأذن لمن شئت منهم واستغفر لهم الله إن الله غفور رحيم. The true believers are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and when they are with Him on a public matter, they do not leave without His permission. Indeed, those who ask your permission, O Prophet, are the ones who truly believe in Allah and His Messenger. So when they ask your permission for a private matter, grant permission to whoever you wish and ask Allah's forgiveness for them. Surely Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. And so again, we see this respect that's to be given to the Prophet, and they're not supposed to leave without seeking his permission first. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the next ayah, لا تجعلوا دعاء الرسول بينكم كدعاء بعضكم بعضا قد يعلم الله الذين يتسللون منكم لواذا فليحذر الذين يخالفون عن أمره أن تصيبهم فتنة أو يصيبهم عذاب أليم. Do not treat the messenger's summons to you as lightly as your summons to one another. Allah certainly knows those of you who slip away hiding behind others. So let those who disobey his orders beware, for an affliction may befall them, or a painful torment may overtake them. So again, we see like the process of calling the believers is not like them calling one another. And so there's this special status that the Prophet has. And so his calling cannot be taken lightly as the calling of people to one another. And then again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala threatens those who have been slipping away without seeking permission of a painful punishment. So again, we see the importance of the treating the Prophet and giving him his due respect. And then the next one from Surah Fath, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِتُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَتُعَزِّرُوهُ وَتُوَقِّرُوهُ وَتُسَبِّحُوهُ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. That you may believe in Allah and His Messenger and honor Him and respect Him, that is the Prophet, and exalt Allah morning and afternoon. And then we see this example from Surah Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَقُولُوا رَاعِنَا وَقُولُوا انظُرْنَا وَاسْمَعُوا وَلِلْكَافِرِينَ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. O you who have believed, say not to Allah's Messenger, Ra'ina, but say unzurna and listen. And for the disbelievers is a painful punishment. And we see the footnote explaining that the word Ra'ina in Arabic literally means consider us. That is, give us time to hear you and listen to us. The Jews used to use the same word with the meaning of an insult. And so the believers were ordered to avoid this expression and use instead the word unzurna, wait for us so that we may understand. And so again, we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling the believers to avoid something that might even be misconstrued as being disrespectful. And then we see in this hadith the companions being described when they were sitting in the presence of the Prophet that they were sitting as if there were birds on their heads. And so that was like how respectfully they were sitting, as if they had birds on their heads, that if they would even move slightly, like the birds would fly away. And so that's how respectfully the companions would sit in the presence of the Prophet. So again, we see the great respect that they showed the Prophet, and that was due to him. And then the next section will talk about the obligation of loving the Prophet. So again, this is something that, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in the hearts of the believers, and it's very natural. But again, it is an obligation and something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered the believers to have as well. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Tawbah, قل إن كان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. Say, and again telling the Prophet to say to the believers, if your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your wives, your relatives, wealth which you have obtained, commerce wherein you fear decline, and dwellings with which you are pleased are more beloved to you than Allah and His Messenger, and jihad that is striving in His cause, then wait until Allah executes His command. And Allah does not guide the defiantly disobedient people. And so we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah telling us that Allah and His Messenger and striving in His cause should be more beloved to us than all these worldly things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put a natural love in our hearts for. And so this Sharia love that we should have for Allah and His Messenger and striving in His cause should be above that natural love, which is also acceptable in the Sharia. And like we will have love for our family and our wealth, and that's allowed and permissible, but it should never trump and be more than our love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet. And then similarly, we see in Surah Ahzab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "An-nabiyyu awla bil mu'minina min anfusihim." The Prophet is more worthy of the believers than themselves. And so we see again, like the Prophet awla bil mu'minin, than even themselves. So he comes like before even the believers themselves. And wa azwajuhu ummahatuhum, and his wives are their mothers. And we see in this hadith the Prophet telling Umar radiallahu anhu, when Umar radiallahu anhu said to the Prophet that you are dearer to me than everything except my own self. And so the Prophet said, "No, by him in whose hand is my soul, you will not have complete faith till I am dearer to you than your own self." And so then Umar radiallahu anhu realized this, and he said, "Now by Allah, you are dearer to me than my own self." And the Prophet said, now Umar, al-an, yeah, Umar, indicating that now he was a true believer and had true iman. And so we see that the Prophet should be more beloved to us than even our own selves and our own nafs. And so, obviously, like if we were in the position, we would obviously sacrifice ourselves for the sake of the Prophet. And also, our nafs can be corrupted and sometimes may mislead us, and it may lead us towards ma'asiyah and sinning and towards the hellfire. But the Prophet would never do that. So he would actually look out for our nafs even more than our nafs itself. So the Prophet will always guide us towards the straight path and towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and towards Jannah. Like we saw the hadith earlier in this series about how the Prophet compared his example to that of somebody who's rescuing people from the fire. And so inshallah, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us love of the Prophet and makes us amongst those who love him and respect him. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.